Hello, what's up? Yeah, so welcome back to another session of Battlefield 2042, and yeah, it's the Liquidator event, just as just as before in this Tuesday and yesterday, and it's going to continue for 2 weeks. But it's going to be a little bit different. This week is 8v8, and next week is going to be 16v16. So it's going to be at least more players. I'm not sure if they're going to run with the same maps, or I think they could do it because it's not overly crowded on the maps right now. I've caught a little bit of a cold, so we'll see how this goes. I mean, maybe we'll cut a little bit short today, but we'll see. I mean, let's just go for it and we'll see. All right, so here you see in the game, and I should actually just start here. So when you get into the game, you see this Liquidator event here on top. You can just click it, and then you go Tactical Conquest 8v8. And that's actually all it is. That's nothing more to it. It's just normal Conquest, but with less players and no vehicles and special maps. So, I mean, it is called the Liquidator, so it would be kind of cool to have an attacking team that are the Liquidators and a defending team that are whatever else. And maybe they could have special clothes. They could have, I mean, even if they don't have special locations, maybe they could have special theme on the map to show that it's something different happening there. But no, in that sense, it's a little bit scuffed. It's it's very simplified. It's really just Conquest. There's nothing more to it. So what you can actually earn is these 4 things. And as far as I get it, it's actually this 100 ribbons were intended to be both this week and next week, if it is as I interpret it. And I got it in 2 days, which, I mean, I was quite slow at it, to be honest, at first day. I didn't get it to work. I'm going to talk a little bit later about how to set up your players to gain as many ribbons as possible, to do it as fast as possible. But, I mean, you should, let's say that you get 5 ribbons each round, and you have to do 20 rounds, and it is a little bit of a grindy thing, and for me it was fun a couple of rounds, but then it got a little bit boring. And to be honest, my stream this Tuesday, I'm a little bit ashamed because we did complain quite a lot. It's probably the worst stream I've ever done. I mean, I'm seriously considering just removing it because of all the negative part, and it didn't. I mean, you look at your stream afterwards and you think a little bit, oh, what can I do better, and so on. And this stream, it just didn't feel very good. I'm leaving it anyway because you shouldn't always trust your feeling about yourself. But yeah, so I went back yesterday. I had 25 ribbons left, and I made them in, I think it was 4 rounds or something. And that was actually quite fun, even if we got smacked around at least once of these 4 rounds, 5 rounds maybe. It was still fun. So maybe you shouldn't take it too serious. But yeah, I'm going to go through all that. I'm also going to point out a little bit on the maps, why they are a little bit strugglish. And I'm also going to point out at the same time a few good locations and stuff. I mean, I'm not going to go through all the maps because it's just the same map as you usually play. It's just that you have cut it off a little bit. So, I mean, you get these 4 things. It's a card, it's a weapon skin, it's a normal skin, and it's a tank skin. The Liquidator is actually a whole lot more if you look here. And if we just filter out, so we go for all the bundles, you see you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bundles. And we summed that up a little bit. It's a lot of points. What is it, 5,000 points or something? Can't really recall, but I think it all ended up in maybe £40 if you like the British value. If you give Swedish, it's more like I think it was 500 Swedish krona, maybe. It depends a little bit if you have the AAA member discount or if you don't. So if you don't, obviously it's gonna cost you more, maybe £5 more or something like that. I mean, it's a bunch of different skins, cards, tags. It's a little bit like, I mean, so I know some people are really annoyed that you have to pay for this. You should get it free because we paid for the game, right? I mean, when you pay for a game, you pay for whatever content it has from the start, and then it may include stuff maybe they promise a couple of maps, or they promise battle pass if you pay for premium or ultimate version or whatever it's called. And then, I mean, everything else is kind of at the whim. You can't really complain about it because, yeah, you paid for the base game and then they add new stuff and wow, I need to pay for more stuff. Is it enough, the stuff that you got from the beginning? Well, maybe you don't think so, but that's actually what you bought. So, I mean, everyone has their own opinion, I know. But let's be honest. The entire event is to put a little bit of a peak in the middle of the season to make people more interested in playing. Of course, one reason, and that's a big reason, is that DICE and EA wants to earn money. But it's also to make the game more popular. So you shouldn't just go, it's a bad thing they want to earn money. I mean, everyone wants to earn money, so that's nothing really to it. Anyway. I just saw something. All bundles, hardware. Ah, yeah. So when I actually start to filter, I can see them up there. Okay, that's nice. Too bad I can't see them right now, though. Anyway, so that's actually this Liquidator event. So let's go through a little bit how you can actually equip yourself to be as efficient as possible. So it's all about ribbons, right? And you have the different ribbons. You have one for taking objectives, defending objectives. You have one for helping your teammates by supplies, by health, and revives. And you can provide them with ammunition. You can kill enemies and get an assist. And that's was 4, right? Yeah, and you have the final, that's intel, where you can spot enemies. So to be as efficient as possible, you want to do all of these if possible, right? So one thing that's actually special with this Liquidator event, I think it's a little bit fun, is that you are in a squad and your squad can only have one of each, one specialist of each type, or each person actually. Now there are 3 support players or medics if you wish. I think you should use them all. I think Folk is the best suited for this special event, because you can revive players, that gives a lot, and you can actually use the threat pistol to heal both other players and yourself, which also gives a lot, but it also keeps you alive. And it makes you a little bit freer to put together something different. So for weapons, you can use pretty much whatever you want. I wouldn't pick something that's extremely close combat unless you can put yourself in that position. And I definitely wouldn't put, sniper rifle unless you are Stoddy or someone like that. I mean, you could actually go with the SVS because it's a insane shotgun actually. But yeah, you get what I mean. Pick something that you are comfortable with, or something that you want to reach tier 1. That's my take on it. Now, if you look at the gear, that's a little bit more interesting. So there are a bunch of different, if you go with the throwables for starters. Sure, frag nade could be very efficient and all that, but you want to go with the proc sensor because that can give you the spots, and it can also give you assist. So it helps 2 of these cards. And then if you look at the last part, it would be useful for your team to have a insertion beacon. The problem is that it doesn't really give anything for the ribbons. So what you want to do is to bring the ammo crate, because that gives you a new Pokeball. It gives you a new Pokeball right away, and that's actually valuable as. And it also makes you like everyone needs ammo crates all the time, so it's actually super useful. I would say that medical crate is very useful at all, but playing this 2 days in a row, I suspect that there might be a bug making the ammo crate provide both, when we look at points, that is, both health and ammo. So it could be that it actually gives 2. Because at least for me, I didn't pay too much attention to this, but when I brought the ammo crate, I got a whole lot of more ribbons than if I got anything else, actually. So my suggestion would be to bring the ammo crate, and that's also why we want Folk, not Angel, for instance, because then it would be redundant. So bring Folk, bring whatever weapon you like, bring the Pokeball, and take the ammo crate. And that's actually all you need to be really successful. Of course, you need to play good as well, but... Alright, so let's have a little bit look on the maps, shall we? It was actually super interesting. Can you go away, menu? No? Oh, there we go. Perfect. Alright, so let's start with this beautiful map. And for some reason, when we played yesterday, we always got, or at least I always got in the same team. So every time we played Arca Harbor, we were the Russian team. And that means that you spawn over here, you rush in, and you take A1 and B1 as fast as possible. And usually, if you're really quick about it, so yeah, there is no like countdown and stuff when you get into a server. Just spawn right away and just start running. And you can actually take 1 or maybe even 2 objectives before the enemies start to spawn even. And your squad can actually spawn on you. And of course, since there's only 8 players, if you have friends, you can actually be half the team or even the full team. And it's obviously super useful, but you don't have to do it. I mean, for me, it wasn't always very good. I blame my friends, but no. I mean, I didn't do very well sometimes as well. But, I mean, obviously, it's going to be useful to have your friends that you can talk to, that you can, maybe if you know each other, you can cover each other's backs and so on. But it's a little bit different playstyle than kind of what you're used to, or at least what I'm used to, because it's a little bit more like COD, but you do bring the battlefield parts, which is not always that great. I mean, hit reg and all that. The fluidness of COD, it's not really here. I don't think so, at least. Even if I like it, from my own perspectives. Okay, so you do rush to A1, B1, yeah? And if you rush to B1, don't go to A1 and cross over here. If you really need to, sure, you can do it, but you are really, really exposed. And you don't need to be in the building to take it, I think. You can be over here, actually. But the suggestion is to cross as soon as possible over here, and then you go through this hangar or warehouse or whatever it is. You stay on the left side, and you make sure that no one flanks you. And then you can go using this container, and you can go in this entrance, and you can just wipe out the entire building. And that is actually I mean, if you're smart about it, you use the Pokeballs, and then you give yourself ammo, and then you can use another Pokeball when you get closer, and the first one starts to wear out, or it's out of position. You know exactly where everyone is, and just listen for maybe there can be someone out here. So staying really on that side is really, really useful. The only time you should be down here is basically when you want to take A1. And then you want to go for C1. And by this, you should be having control of this entire area. Basically, you should be able to push them all the way back to the spawn. And you can set up camp here, actually, if you be a little bit careful. And obviously, if you go for C1, you should try to push them so you have this line over here. You can be inside the building, can be here using the containers, whatever. And you can actually spawn rape them. And that's basically this. The problem is, of course, that I think, looking from up here, the US side has a fair chance of getting in by the trains here. That's a lot of cover that they can use, so they can push forward all the way up here, and someone can be shooting from here, and they can actually be in under the bridge as well, and they should be able to mount an offense to either push straight for B1 or they should be able to take C1. That's fairly okay. The problem here with Russia is that you're going downhill, and while you're coming out here, you are exposed from this building, definitely exposed from that building, and you are exposed for all the people up here. So you can't really get into the point without having to cross an open area where they have cover. Whereas from this side, you can actually go in cover, you can go in cover, and they can go entire way to the building in cover. So I think the US side in this map is beneficial when it comes to the possibility of not being spawn raped, so to say. And you saw the last map was kind of linear. Some are more linear, some are not. This is not actually. This is asymmetrical, and you have these 3 objectives. The problem with this map is, and it's actually a quite huge one, I don't really understand why they picked this area in this way. So let's say you are US, and you can actually go, usually you can go all the way up to the containers, or you can flank the northern route here to B1. Because defenders at B1 are going to be a little bit spread thin. Either they have to defend A1, or they have to defend B1, or they can defend both, but it's hard to establish a line on the containers. It's usually in or on top of the building, which makes it possible to actually push all the way to the containers from the US side. So the US has a very big advantage here. Again, for some reason I always play that same team, so on this map I always play as Russians. It's absolutely weird. It really is, but yeah, we did it. And usually I think this was a fun map because you were switching objectives all the time. You went for C1, you went to B1, A1, and it went a little bit around, and you had some fights, and it went a little bit around the other way, and lots of switching objectives. That's fun, right? It's not like this linear where you get one and the next and the third. It's always a lot of switching and stuff. But when your team is inferior, like a lot, this map is absolute dog shit. So what happens is that you can actually go C1, A1, and you can take B1 even, because you maybe spawn right away and you run and you're fast. And if the other team has some better shooters, they can take control of A1. And soon it becomes really hard to push from C1 to A1. And they can take control of B1. And they can actually lock you out, just as you can do this way, but not really though, because they can actually go up here. You can't really do that over here, because this area is open. So if you try to cross from over here, up here, and there, these covers aren't sufficient. And it's a lot of open space. So this is not really great. I mean, there are some open space here, but this area over here, there is plenty of cover. So there is this difference. And the other part is, especially if they push you all the way in here, they can establish the line over here, here, and over here. And you spawn over here, and you first need to cross this open space. And they can actually, you see, they have sight lines over here, so they can actually shoot you, and they can get on top of things, so they can actually shoot you directly when you try to cross this area. And there's no other way than in here. So if you go on the outside of the wall, they can peek here, shoot you. I mean, that happens in normal case. This is not a good flank route, because you have no cover during this passage. It's just a cover from here. It's no cover from here. So you're forced to go into this messy box area where they can shoot you from here, from here, from here. So you take fire from a lot of different directions, and the protection isn't sufficient. And they can also get on top of things, they can shoot down at you. I mean, if you look at the map, theoretically, you could be able to flank out here because there is space. The problem is there is no cover at all. It's just open field. So, and they can get on top of things. They can go in front here, and they can go in front here, and they can go on top of this. So you are really exposed. So this Russian spawn over here is actually really, really bad, despite it being asymmetrical. And we go for the next one. So this is Renewal, the new version of the map. And as always, DICE seems to love to just tilt it up and down all the way. So in this case, north is actually down here and south is up here, which is absolutely mad. That means that when I'm going through this now, I'm going to get so confused. I'm going to use up there, down there, instead of north, south, and so on. Because if you go around play and you look at your minimap or at the bar on the bottom, it's going to say opposite from what you see right now, which is confirmed by the shadows, because we are on the southern part of the world, even if that map is horrifically wrong. Yeah, or is it? It looks to be somewhere in Europe. And I think this is not really there. Anyway, that's not the point. So this is very linear. You have C1, B1, A1 if you go from US. And this is one of the times where I always played US. So, I mean, here again, there is a lot of open space. If you can't keep C1 or one of the others, you are in really deep trouble. If you come on the Russian side, you could probably go along this part here and push in from that side. You kind of can go down here, but it's not a lot of protection. So, I mean, it would be rough as well. So, preferably, both team wants to keep some objective over here. This objective is inside the building, but keeping the control over the top of the building is actually really useful, because you can shoot down on everyone on both sides. Didn't really get out capped. Oh yeah, I actually did. Yesterday I did. So we started off well. We took control over all of them, and then some players switched a little bit here and there, and suddenly we lost control over all of them. And at that moment, I kind of gave up, so I didn't push into the objective, because you see all this open area, and they had people on top, they have people inside, they have people over here. So I actually sat back here with a sniper rifle and had a good time shooting heads. And then round was ended. I mean, it's not very long rounds, but if you get into this is actually a good map, I think. I mean, it's a little bit different. You have to be aware of your sight lines a lot more, because it's a bit more compressed. So for instance, if you go over here, you don't want to run around the middle of the street. You really want to keep the building. Go close to the building, next building, go close to it. Don't go in the middle here if there are enemies in B1. Try to keep it on the outside. Try to make it to the doors as fast as possible. You don't have to go through the doors. You have to go close to the doors, because then it's harder for those on top to shoot you. And, well, it's nothing more to it, really. So Stranded is one of the maps that before we started to play, I said that this is probably the perfect map for this one, because you have this like central route, and you have a flank route on both sides inside the ship, and then you have actually a little bit of a flank route outside the ship. I'm pretty sure that it's a little bit more narrow than when you play, than it's actually visible here. So the problem, I played as US all the times, by the way. No, I didn't actually. I've played on both sides on this map. Brilliant. This is the only map where I played on both sides, I think. So what you can actually do is that sometimes if you have B1, you might spawn on top of the ship. If you have a spawn beacon in that position, it's great, because then your team can spawn on top of the ship, and you can go down these hatches if you want, or you can stay on top and just kill people. It's super valuable. So if you can keep that position, it's great. Otherwise, if you manage to get control over 2 or even 3 of these, and you are US, you can actually spawn rape Russia really, really bad. So the thing that DICE have made that I think is a little bit weird is that the the balcony here on the Russian side, US can go on top of it and quite far into it, which makes it really hard for Russia to take control of it and push back, especially if they are pushed back all the way. Then you need to run outside on either this side or that side, and you need to basically slow push that. And I think this side is preferable if this little players, as long as there's some pressure up here or there, because you can go all the way to the door, and you need to do that. Here, you can actually, as defenders, keep the door and push the attackers so they are behind the container, which is a great way to zone off. And you see, you can't really go outside here because then you would be outside the map. So that's kind of the negative part. Otherwise, I think this map is actually the ones that brings the best action because it's built for it, and you have covers and you can push forward into the covers, and it's no like really long sight lines or anything. So out of all the maps I've seen, I mean, you can zoom in a little bit. If you look at these, first of all, we have the Arica Harbor. We have talked about that one. We have Breakaway. We have talked about that one because there's not much to say. I mean, I haven't been outcapped on this one. I'm not sure you can be outcapped because US has access to A1 and B1, and they can go for C1 because, well, it's not a really good flank route, but they can do it. They're quite exposed if you go over here. Russia has access to all, and there's nothing really to it. What we faced that was quite annoying was someone having spawn beacons inside this building or on top of it, and they just kept coming. And I mean, it's half the way to run, so it's actually on C1 really quick, and it's fairly quick to B1 as well. Caspian border, I don't think we talked much about that. It's kind of a weird one, I think. If you go as US, this route down here is a little bit longer. Yeah. Because you need to be somewhere here to take control of the southern part, right? And let me see. Well, it's actually kind of even, but I would say that Russia has more covers because this isn't really covers, right? You have the building here and then it's open space. So then you would push over here and then go there. While in this case, you can actually go straight for it, basically. I mean, it's kind of pros and cons on this one. But as a Russian, to push into B1, it's quite possible, right? As the US has to push into B1, well, if Russia have been fortifying the right positions here, it can actually be really hassle. But well, I think it's fine. We talked about the discarded, we talked about renewal, and we talked about stranded. Yeah, so that's all of them. Great. So that's actually all that's to it, and I'm not sure going to show gameplay from. I mean, let's see. No, there's no friends online either. As long as no one of them asked or wants to play this game mode, I'm just going to ignore it actually for tonight. It's a little bit rough with the cold, to be honest. I'm actually thinking of calling it a little bit early. I have gameplay from yesterday that I really want to show. I think it worked. Oh, hello, Gabor. Gabor Sonka, maybe? I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly. Anyway, thank you. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Yeah, so I have gameplay for yesterday, and I hope it worked because I had serious problems. I tried to use the EA app, EA desktop app, and it wasn't such a good idea because it broke my computer a little bit, especially when I tried to use Shadowplay to record in Battlefield 2042. But I think I've got it to running, and hopefully that actually records some really good gameplay in the what's it called, the Liquidators. So that's what I'm hoping for. I'm going to cut it a little bit, and I'm going to throw it out quite soon, I hope. Not today, obviously. I don't have the time. Sorry, it's about 8:40 o'clock right now, so in the afternoon. So, but yeah, I think I'm actually going to save my throat a little bit, and I'm going to call it already. But keep an eye out for that, and also I have a video talking about the switching sides that I tried, why it didn't work, and so on. That's coming this weekend. So yeah, that's it. Hope you all have a good time. See you on Tuesday live, and if not, then make sure to check out some videos. It's coming this weekend. Cheers.